Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSPmagazine. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Hello, everybody. This is Marco Ciappelli. Welcome to another episode of Audio Signals podcast, where we talk about stories, storytelling in general, and most of all, lately, about the storytellers behind the story. Because, you need somebody that actually share those, come up with it in a creative way. Sometimes we're driven by pure entertainment. Some other times I feel like we're driven by a deeper reason, like a vision or a mission that we want to change something in the world. I have the feeling that this conversation is about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There's going to be a lot of conversation about performing, about music, about storytelling, and as usual, enough about me chatting for people. For people watching, they can see that Reverend Billy is here with me. And for those listening, here it is. Reverend Billy, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Marco.
I'm very excited about this. And it's going to be a journey of discovery for me as well, as I didn't really know about what you do until I got contacted. So I'm all excited and all open to learn about who is Reverend Billy to get started, and then we go into what you do.
And in trying to describe what I do and coming up with my own self-induced biography, I hope that I learned something about you and about myself as well.
Yeah,
because I know you're a mystery, but I'm a mystery to myself.
Agreed. I start with, who are you? And many times I hear like, wow, that's philosophical, because I'm not really sure. So we'll try to nail it down to what characterizes you instead of who are you. How about that?
Well, we are in New York City, which is where I'm speaking to you from. We have a group of people, about 50 of us or so, really dedicated, doing a couple things every week together. It's called the Church of Stop Shopping. And I am the preacher of this secular, anti-consumerist, earth-defending, we're basically wacky environmentalists. And we're here in the middle of 10 or 20 million people, depending on where you put the city limits. And it's not a lot of environmentalists here. We're a city. And in California, you've got a mountain at the end of the road. You got an ocean over there, or a desert if you're in the other direction. But the natural world is very, very much at hand. And where I live, I can take a subway for about 45 minutes, and I'll be in Coney Island.
Yeah.
In the other direction, I can take a subway for about an hour and 15 minutes, and I'll be in Times Square. In another direction, subway for a while, then wait in line, pay money, take a boat, and I'll be at the Statue of Liberty. So having a kind of earth-centered, worried about climate change, trying to develop healthy ecosystems, pushing back against the toxins, the bad-behaving corporations, and so forth. It's a little bit unusual to do that here, but we take that as, we love New York, and we take that as our challenge. And as befits New York, we're performers. So we're on stage all the time, and we have award-winning singers in our group. We call it the Stop Shopping Choir. 35 singers get up there and sing about the earth. Some of us are better activists than we are singers. The people who join the Church of Stop Shopping, some of them come through the activist door, and they teach the musicians how to how to deal with the police, how to, rope-a-dope the problems of being in public space, shouting about the earth, oftentimes going onto private property of misbehaving corporations like JP Morgan Chase and, the fossil fuel banks. That's very big here. And then people come in through the environmental door. The musical door. They teach the activists to sing. So the activists and the musicians are always in a dynamic state of teaching each other. And I'm the preacher, so I get to tell the stories in a preacherly fashion. We're secular, we're not religious, but we use, sometimes I resemble Jimmy Swaggart. Sometimes I love to get up there and preach, Marco. And so, we kind of use the shape of a religious ceremony as a kind of a basis for our show. On stage takes about 75 minutes. And our show on the sidewalks and streets and in the lobbies of bad banks, well, that's all different kinds of time frames. Sometimes it's very quick when the police show up and kick us out.
Wow. I cannot think actually a better way to do it as a preacher, because if you love the planet Earth, and it's important. It's a religion in a way. It's a secular religion, but it is. So I love that. But I want to go to the beginning of this, because I was doing a little bit of research, and I think, if I'm not wrong, you started in 1999 with this, or around that time.
I was starting it in the late 90s. Yeah.
So tell me about the origin story, about how you come up with this idea and you started doing this.
Well, I was raised by abusive right-wing Christians, and up in Holland, Michigan, Dutch Calvinists, and they are believers in the Bible. What are they called? The people who believe that the Bible, every sentence of the Bible comes straight from God, and it's all true, even if it conflicts with stuff on the previous page of the Bible. It's all true. So I was raised by
in his own way. It's still true, right?
I was raised in that kind of, and a lot of Americans have been. So I'm not saying I'm all that special, but I was afraid of Christianity, basically. And then all of a sudden, I met this gentleman up in San Francisco. I was a theater producer, and a lot of the people that I produced were storytellers. Spalding Gray and Danny Glover reciting Langston Hughes poems. And, I produced people who got up there by themselves and held the stage by themselves and told a story. That's what fascinated me. Sold a lot of tickets up there in the Bay Area. Well, then this one person shows up and takes me out to lunch, and he's a priest from the Episcopal Church, and he says, "Don't be afraid of Christians. Don't be afraid of all that. They're doing what they can. Just, we have lots of different religions in our culture here in the United States, and some people call it a Christian country, but it's everybody now. So just take it easy, And he kind of mellowed me out. And then he said, Americans get their meaning of their lives from Bible stories. And he said, check it out. And so he started taking me to Clint Eastwood movies, like High Plains Drifter is a Bible story. It's a Jesus story. Mysterious man comes to town. Everybody falls in love with him. They want him to save them from the wicked gangsters. It's all very, and he does miracles, selectively kills the evil people and delivers everybody, and then he leaves and nobody can remember his name. He's like this mystical force. Mm-hmm. And then this man's name, from California, who revolutionized my life and took me to the idea of Reverend Billy. His name is Sidney Lanier, Reverend Sidney Lanier. And so he took me back to New York, where he had been a priest when he was a priest, and before he quit the priesthood. And he, or was he defrocked? That's a question.
Leave a little bit of mystery there.
Yeah, he did. But he was a radical here in New York when he was here. He ripped out the altar of the church where he was a vicar, and he brought in the studio and the method actors, and he turned it into a theater. It was a theatrical church. So I worshiped there for a while when I was still trying to be a Christian in some way, and I would get on my knees for the blood and the body of Christ, get on my knees, and I'd be in the middle of that week's play. I might be in the middle of a Sam Shepard set, or, I might be in the middle of an Arthur Miller play, and the set would be all around us, not an altar. So he adjusted the storytelling of the preacher toward the stories that come from plays, but he thought he could combine the two, and he succeeded to some extent, I would say. So he took me back to how stories emanate from worship, from being, and then of course I never really got back to church, Marco. My worship turned out to be forests and deserts and wetlands and oceans, and my church is the earth. I never really became a believer in that old way. And I don't think he was either. He was a secular type ex-priest. And he passed away recently in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Just north of LA. Where are you right now, Marco?
Yeah, I'm in the LA area.
Silver Lake? Are you in Silver Lake?
The LA. I am not. I'm on the other side, more in the San Fernando
Santa Monica
area. Nope, on the other side of the mountain. So San Fernando area, Burbank.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was listening to you, and I am seeing. This is how I am. I watch. I say I like to watch TV on the radio. Like I like to imagine things when people tell me stories. So yeah. I am envisioning this church where you guys are acting, and I'm thinking like all the stories, they're connected together by the archetype. Like you talk about the Bible and how even the character of in a movie like Clint Eastwood is the story of, maybe
he has a lot of Jesus stories.
Right. Yeah. But they're all stories that if you look at the archetype of how we tell story, you can find that in Star Wars. You can find that in the Disney story. So
yes.
Right. So, but then we do find a different way to dress them up and to share them. But at the core, there's always some kind of hero, some kind of problem, some kind of enemy. And in your case, you decided that your background was going to be also a mission and a vision to make a change, because that's what you're doing. Yes. So at the beginning was pretty much you, I'm guessing.
I was out there by myself for years, with Sydney advising me and so forth. And I was in Times Square a lot with the other crazy preachers. But then Sydney started saying, Times Square is near the church where he did his experiment of tearing out the altar, St. Clement's on Restaurant Row, 46th Street. But he said, choose a devil, and we need to make up a kind of secular theology to tell that story. And so the devil was Mickey Mouse, and Disney is a 100% sweatshop company and a union busting company, bad behaving company. And so Sydney put me right there in front of the Times Square Disney store. And, that was for that was where I learned to preach on the sidewalk, which is a very difficult thing to pull off. You really have to, as the preachers say, you have to get your whoop, like Whoopi Goldberg. Whoop, you have to get your whoop. So I was out in front there, and the first several months, all I could do was get hoarse. I'd lose my voice because the white noise level in Times Square is so high. Mm-hmm. But after a while, Sydney worked with me. After a while, I was standing in front of the Disney store. Don't bring your child into this den of iniquity. There's nothing on these shelves but sweatshop products. $29.95 for a Pocahontas pajamas. What is that? 14-year-old girls in Tanzania working all night for nothing. That kind of thing. And so I scared some tourists away from that. I would arrest me once in a while. I'd go to jail for overnight. But I could feel something was happening. And when I really got my whoop after like a year or so, then people, and I really had my rhythm, and people would be sitting on cars, and they would a little group would come around me, and then I'd look back, and there'd be like 3 or 4 people kind of going, oh, ooh, and we started getting a kind of a gospel environment going on, and that was the birth of the Stop Shopping Choir. Now I have 35 singers, and we perform in the Public Theater down here, where Hamilton came from. Yeah. And we have a Tony nominee in our choir. We have a Grammy winner in our choir. We have some really good singers. We have some really good storytellers. We make our own songs up. We don't adopt other people's songs. We compose our own songs.
So let me ask you this. So I love the fact that you're performing. I mean, people listening or watching, they can actually understand exactly what you do. So you were improvising at the beginning, right? You were just going there, and I mean, you had a theme. You choose a corporation, and then you were going to lose your voice. You were going for, I'm assuming, hours doing this.
Yes. The preacher has boundary issues. Preachers just keep going. You have to put them in jail.
But what I'm saying is you were just improvising lines, and I'm sure maybe you had a script in your head, but then you pass from that to working with other people. So you become some sort of a director, you're the leader at that point.
I fell in love with a woman named Savitri right at about the point when I had got my whoop. I started hanging out with this lady who turned out was a talented theatrical director. And so Savitri and I, 20 years later, we have a 13-year-old daughter, and we have this big rousing group of New Yorkers who go into Times Square and just shout and shout and shout. And then we go into the concert stage for a while, and the serious artists listen to us, and then we go back out to risk arrest. So sometimes we go straight from the concert stage, and Savitri leads us. We had one of our local performers, a man named Jordan Neely, was a Michael Jackson imitator and excellent dancer. And he made his living in the subways, mainly, especially, I always used to see him in the train that I take from Brooklyn, which is the F train. And Jordan was killed by a soldier because he was having some issues. He was behaving in not exactly a sociable way, but that happens all the time on the subway. And this soldier must be from the suburbs or something. I don't know. He thought it was threatening. Nobody else did, but we went. Our favorite place to perform is the Public Theater, Joe's Pub, right over here on Lafayette Street in Astor Place. Well, it's just a few blocks from the Broadway Lafayette subway, where the F train, which is where Jordan was killed, and so we went right out of the theater after our 75 minutes on stage, and went right down Lafayette Street, singing, and we went down into the train station and sang and sang and sang. That was Jordan was killed last May. So there's a little bit of a tragedy here.
Yep. Yeah. You said something that it kind of touched me. Like, if you are a New Yorker, you're not bothered by this thing. You know that there is that. And I spent some times in New York. There are the performers. I mean, I remember walking in Central Park and hearing unbelievable music, comedians, and all of that. But somehow you mentioned this person that then killed your performer, your friend. It wasn't even from there, and it wasn't part of the vibe. So I don't know if I'm going somewhere with this, but you become part of the city, and you accept so much more than what you would do in the suburb.
Well, we know that for evolution you have to have mutation, and there are stray radicals that don't necessarily fit. Although he grounded his basic gestures in this most famous of all people, Michael Jackson. He looked like Michael Jackson, and he was very good at it. And then he would go from there. He would go from there. It wasn't just the superstar. It was this individual duetting with Michael Jackson. And so we know that in New York you're going to get scared once in a while because you're making new culture. That's the job of this place. And I think that's about our activity in public space, like subways. We're a walking city. We're canyons of buildings, and we're always like walking into each other and knocking each other over. And what the hell? Hey, watch where you go. Hey, hello. We're constantly. If you land in LaGuardia Airport and you come out of your gate, from your airplane, you get. New Yorkers who are listening to me right now know exactly what I'm talking about. You get hit by other people's luggage and they knock you over. They're like glad to be home in New York. I'm not going to make it to baggage claim here,
right?
But you love that you're back. That it is that crowded, and that there's so many strong-willed people who are just a little bit less polite than perhaps they should be on some occasions. But yeah, Jordan Neely. We named forest down in East River Park. We named the forest the Jordan Neely Memorial Grove, mostly red oaks there by the East River. And now they're trying to cut those trees down. So, yeah, the people. The people that make trouble are sometimes the people that later on you realize how badly you needed them, how badly you want them. And a lot of them are storytellers.
Let's go there. Let's go on the storytelling part of things. But I have a question. Do you think you could do what you do and to have the crowd that follows you, that joined you on this mission, if you were in another city or in the United States? Or do you think that it's intrinsic to New York, kind of what you do?
Well, Savitry's from Taos, New Mexico. She grew up on the Llama Mountain north of Taos, and then she moved to Charlottesville. And I lived mostly in Minnesota and South Dakota. So we both had we're both Western people with the beauty of northern New Mexico up there, and then South Dakota, the prairies. And they both places have a strong native history. Down in New Mexico, the the Hopi people, the Zuni people, the Apache people, the Navajo people, up where I was a kid, the Ojibwe and the Lakota and the Mandan, the Harakara, the Sioux Indians, the big nation. If the big nation down in New Mexico and Arizona are the Navajos, the big nation, the big Indian nation up where I lived would be the Sioux Nation. And they both have their own story of resisting the invading white man. So that we ended up in New York, but the two of us bring with us an exposure to religiosity that you just can't help but
right. But where I was going with that, and I love that because I want to go into the storytelling and what you incorporate, because I can see all this legend and spiritual thinker from the Navajo and all the tribe. But the audience, I'm thinking the audience that you have in the street of New York, I just don't see it in LA. I don't see it, I don't know, in a city in Europe, maybe London. I don't know. I'm just thinking about this cultural environment that is more receptible to having street performer. Maybe it's just me thinking this. I don't know.
Well, it's very much in London. We go to London whenever we can.
You do? Okay.
We have a stop shopping choir there.
Okay.
30 singers.
Nice.
But they don't have a Reverend Billy. So
you cannot clone yourself yet?
Get your own Reverend Billy, but they say we don't have one yet. But they rehearsed last night, Monday night.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about the stories that you share, and how do you build them, and how you create them with the music and the singer. You say you all come together. Somebody's better at one thing, somebody's better at another, but you all come together in a body of performer.
Well, in my talks, sometimes I'll use a structure from my own childhood. Recently, a couple of my sermons ended with a story of when I was 5 years old, and I was intrigued. I kept asking my mother, what is inside the darkness there at the end of the trumpet? We had a trumpet hanging in the wall from my father in his days in a high school marching band. And I said, well, what's in there? And she was amused. And then after my mother passed away, I had this dream of being just a little one, like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old and kindergarten age, and I'm holding her hand. So she's just she's just not even 30 yet in the dream. And we're walking, and I remember looking up at her and smiling, and we walk, and there before us is the bell of a trumpet and that flare at the end of the trumpet. And mother just takes me right up the slope of the trumpet into the darkness. And we walked in the darkness, and I felt secure because I had my mother's hand. And then it opened up again. It must have been the music inside the instrument. It opened up again. And there inside was this brilliant meadow and forests and vivid leaves waving in the wind, and hawks flying overhead, and butterflies and birds and flowers tossing in the wind and the meadows, and just a magic land. And we were walking on this little country road together. And then we walked, and I was so happy, and my mother was happy. And then the light started dimming again. And we were walking back into the darkness. And I started getting a little bit scared. Mom, where are we going? Oh, don't worry, Billy. Just keep walking. Keep walking. Whatever happens, just keep walking. And we kept walking into the darkness until it was pitch black, just dark. Kept walking and kept walking. And then I realized my mother wasn't there. And I remembered her instruction. Keep walking. And that's what I did. I walked and walked. And then I thought it was getting light again.
Wow. You sure know how to tell a story. So how do you add the rest of the group to, I mean, this is, I'm assuming this is the core story that you're going with. And then do you add music to it? Do you add performing art around you? Or is just something like this that you just say alone?
Well, I'm never alone up there because when we're in our storefront, when we're in our church, which is on Avenue C in Alphabet City, East Village, it's casual and it's open and there might be 50, 60, 70 people there, but we can just walk out among the choir can walk out among the congregants and sit down and just leave me up there. Now we're at this fancy theater in the public theater here, Joe's Pub, and you can't leave the stage because there's all.
So you adapt. So you adapt yourself and the whole performance. You have to adapt if you are in the middle of the street. You have to adapt if you are in a mall.
You have to adapt. Exactly. You adapt to
Does it change quite a bit? Do you have to script the change, or the group knows more or less how to be flexible?
Well, right now, the charged stages, which are out in public space, like a park, like the front door of a polluting company like JPMorgan Chase or BlackRock or Citibank, the various places that you can go, they're changing a lot right now, Marco, because there are thousands of people marching in the street right now. We're in a very special moment. I don't know when this show will be aired, but this is December 12th. So October 7th was 2 months ago, and it's just as fresh as can be. It's like Black Lives Matter. It's like Occupy Wall Street. It's a major convulsion. Nobody's staying indoors right now. Everybody's out on the streets, and as a result, streets, public space is where the public plaza in front of the city buildings, the government buildings. That's where revolutions happen. That's where change takes place. And all around the world, in like 100 different countries, this is going on. But it's definitely going on in New York, where the most Palestinians outside of Palestine live, and where the most Jews outside of Israel live. So we're very involved in a family argument here in New York right now. Mm-hmm. And so, we come from all kinds of backgrounds in the Church of Stop Shopping, including Hindu, Muslim, but especially Christians and Jews. But we're all not religious anymore. We're basically resisting our grandparents' fundamentalism. Mm-hmm. And we think that the major church, the major fundamentalist church in the United States is consumerism. Stop shopping, Marco. Back away from the product, my child. So,
how do people contribute to the cause? It's like there's some people become part of the singing group, the musician, the performer. I'm sure you have also other people that say, you know what, I love what Reverend Bill is doing. I love what they're doing. I saw them, I listened to them, and I'll be sure to have all the link to your website, and so people can really see if they don't know you. But how can they, I mean, what are you looking for right now, apart from keep doing what you've been doing, that you clearly have an unbelievable passion for it and a talent for storytelling? If people want to get involved, what can they do?
Talk to us. You know, our website is revbilly.com. There it is, next to my chin right there on the screen.
Yep.
We're pretty open. We're pretty out there. We have a storefront right on the it's a converted bank, ironically enough. It's right on Avenue C, and there it is. It's right on a supporter rents it to us at a cut rate, and the door is always open. People just walk in, and we're not careerists. We don't separate from the hoi polloi. I don't think it's a time in the art world. It's not a good time to be have a prestigious position that's removed from people, because the crisis of the earth and the crisis of humanity is not something you're going to get away from. You know, I know the wealthy people think that they can hop in a spaceship with Elon Musk and go to Mars, but in fact, you know, we're not going to even be able to get to Long Island. We won't be able to get to San Fernando. You're not going to get up the Grapevine. There's no escaping. It's the earth. It's the earth. The earth is in the 6th extinction. It's in a state of fast evolution, lots of death, lots of life. The book is being rewritten, and the stories will be changing. We let it be rough, Marco. We let it be rough. We let the Jordan Neelys come in and, you know, scream if they need to. That makes my stories sharper. It makes the songs better. We have one song, maybe you can play it in the course of it's called The Great Outdoors. And Neil Young made it the song of the week on his website.
Cool.
What did you do to the great outdoors? And it's a punk from the future who is appearing in the doorway of some consumer tourists, and she demands to know, where is the earth? I want to go for a hike. What did you do to the earth? And and it's sung in our performances by Francisca Benitez from Chile, and she just gives it this very special flavor. So we will have prophetic songs. We will have songs like science fiction. That song takes place in 2044. That punkette, the tattooed punkette in the doorway, the terror of the middle class. She sings, "I am the X in extinction, you fool." You know, she's scary. I that's such a visual song that I think it's going to be a movie someday.
I hope so.
Yeah.
One last question. You've done this since 1999. You've met so many people. You had different changes, experience. You've been to jail. Do you feel something is changing for the best? Do you think we are awakening as humanity? Given we have a ton of problems, but is your vision the one of the punk singer that come back and say, "You ruined it"?
What the hell did you do?
Or do you bring it to the extreme in your storytelling so that you move people, but inside are you still positive? that we
Right
can do
now,
something.
we're in hell. We're in Marco. Right now, you've got a good Christian name, Marco. Well, we've got the International Climate Conference in Dubai. The host is an oil executive. He invites everybody there. He pays for it, and then it's like it's a joke. He says, "And by the way, I don't believe in the climate science. I don't believe it's really happening. I don't believe we'll ever get to 1.5 Celsius. I don't think, it's a cruel joke that he's turned this worldwide conference, and he invited 2,500 people from oil companies. And it's like a feast. It's like the triumph of fossil fuel over the scientists and the people who are trying to save the animals and plants and trying to save their own children. And then just across the way from the Arabian desert, you have, of course, the two tribes there that are now in full. It's just so sad. I'm going to start crying. It's an hard time to make an optimistic scenario. Right now, we have to go down into how we got to this place where we have the wrong people in charge. We have the wrong people have weapons in their hands and gas and oil, billions of dollars in their hands. And we have not been political in the way that we should have been. We didn't know when to stop them. We let it keep going. We allowed ourselves to be depoliticized by consumerism and by nationalism and religion and all these fundamentalist belief systems that don't apply anymore. They're just dangerous now. We have to be peacemakers, and to be a peacemaker is to be a radical, is to really reinvent your story and to share it with the people around you and to accept the details of their stories. I think it's a time of to be a radical again. We forget that the freedoms that we enjoy right now, here being on this podcast, the freedoms that we enjoy come directly from people that were considered crazy. They were considered dangerous. And a lot of them got killed. But the movements, think of the abolition of slavery, think of the labor movement, think of the suffragette movement, getting the women the vote, think of the labor movement, think of the civil rights movement, the peace movement, the women's movement, the ACT UP. Think of all the movements. And they always had people who were willing to take the big risk. And we're getting to that place now. People are dying as we speak, Marco. I mean, right now, it's just a time of great mortality, mass mortality, ongoing. And so much of it is children. Looking into those children's eyes is something we're all doing right now, all of us. We can't avoid it. And it is changing us. We're in a state of change right now. Just talking about myself with this history, you wanted to go back to my origins. I feel like my origins are right here, right now. I think it goes the other way. I think this is my history, and time goes backwards towards the other direction. I think it is that radical. That's like the science fiction story, right? What I just said, time going backwards. That's exactly what's happening. So
I agree with you. I think what you picture it's very moving. Again, you're an amazing storyteller. You're very passionate. You're not just doing it for some economic gain or celebrity status. I mean, I can tell, and people that watch the video, listen to you, I know you can tell this. And I love this. I want to end with this because I could go forever, but we have a time limit, and maybe you'll come back again. But
I'd love to, Marco.
But I would love to end with this thing where I talk a lot about society and technology and artificial intelligence, generative AI. We never talk about ethics in technology as much as we're doing now. And I feel like it's a moment which connect with what you said, that we really need to stop looking ourselves in the mirror and really maybe go back a little bit from the end to the beginning once more. So I love your metaphor of this sci-fi movie to like, I'm just born right now, and then maybe I'll go back from now. I love that very, very much. So Billy, I enjoyed very much to have you on. You've been moving me, and I think you've been moving people listening, and I hope everybody's going to go check out your website, come and see you in the street, in the theaters, going in the UK, where I'm glad to hear that you have something going on there, and share the story, participate, donate, come and sing with you. Why not? I think you will welcome that.
You're welcome to look us up here. We have, starting in January 14th, we'll be here every Sunday in the East Village at 5 p.m. at Avenue C and East 3rd Street. And you can get all the information at revbilly.com. We're just going to be local all the way through. We're not going to travel anywhere. We're just going all the way through to the end of the summer, all the way through to August.
Cool.
So we're going to be 7 months of just every Sunday, baby.
I have made a mission to get myself in New York soon. If I come, I'll show up
visit.
Right there for sure.
We got a couch here for you.
You'll see me. All right, Billy. Thank you so much.
Hallelujah. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share ITSPmagazine with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our columns. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.